Hi, I'm Andrea Klim from Turn to the Stars. Thanks for tuning in today. Today's show is about the energy surrounding the new moon in Aquarius on February 11th, 2021. I want to say thank you for tuning in, and if you like and enjoy the content of this video and you find it helpful, please click on the donate button below, and here we go. This is the universal horoscope for the new moon in Aquarius occurring on February 11th, 2021. And this is a really powerful new moon as it's in the sign of Aquarius, because Aquarius is one of the signs that's fixed, and that means that this energy is constant. And it's really important because we are all at this time going through this process of realizing the things that we have experienced in the past and the truth surrounding them. Aquarius is also about the truth, but it's also about the energy that's present with this new beginning. This new theme on this new moon is one that affects all of us, because Aquarius is a sign associated with our friends, our communities, our goals, our objectives. And so we really get to see who is truly our friend and who we want to be within our network, which is very much associated with Aquarius. Aquarius is a sign that is ruled by two planets, and that you might refer to them as two angels, because when creation was begun, and you can refer to that any way you want, whether it be God or Creator or whatever that may be. He actually created each of the planets as angels. There's an angelic energy associated with each of the astrology signs. So the archangel that's associated with Aquarius is Archangel Jophiel, Jophiel. And so Aquarius is a sign that's associated with the whole, meaning the unitedness, it's associated with humanity as a whole. And so what we're all looking at as a whole is what are our strategies to move ahead as a whole, as a whole earth. As we think about our individual communities, starting with our friends, and then starting with the groups that we're involved in, maybe the churches we belong to, or the different associations that we have, or classes, whatever that may be. But we have those communities, and then we have our cities, and then we have our country, and then we have our world, our United States, and then beyond that, the whole world, the world as a whole. So my point is that we're all influenced by this new beginning. So it's, I think, very much the theme here that's associated with this is that none of us is different than someone else. Aquarius is a very humble sign. It's one that says, I'm thinking about you as much as me right now. I'm as valuable as you are. You're as valuable as I am. So if you got that kind of handshake going on in your life, you truly have people that are on the same page as you. And so this new moon is one that's going to grow every day until we reach the full moon around the end of February. So this theme is very much connected with showing us the direction that we're all meant to think about, talk about, gather information about as a whole. So this is an intellectual sign, so it means that there's a strong influence to communicate, to strategize, to talk about our common interests. That's where the relief is coming with this new moon, and because of its connection with the North Node, which is really beautiful. So we also have Mercury retrograde on this new moon in Aquarius, and that is going to be lasting until February 20th. So everyone, between now and February 20th, your best option, your best strategy is to reflect. Use this time to research what your goals are, who you want to be on your team. Aquarius is the team. Together, everyone achieves more. And really, take this time to intuitively connect Allow yourself time to experience that intuitive, listen to your intuition. Aquarius is a very intuitive sign. So we have Mercury retrograde, and a story I can tell you about Mercury retrograde is that ancient astrologers always said that when Mercury went retrograde, it was a time for us to take a mental respite, meaning relax the mind. It's not a time to make a decision. This is a time where we're going to find the means to a brighter future. We're going to find the information. We're going to experience some delays, but they're with good reason. So this is actually a really divine, it's a blessing in disguise. And I know so many people go, oh my God, Mercury's retrograde, I don't want to, it is too frustrating. But I want to encourage you to use this time to your benefit, because there's information you didn't have before that you're going to get during this time. So if you are thinking about moving or signing a contract or starting a new job or forming a new association with a group, this is not the time to make it solid. This is the time to research it. Feel what it might, what it might be about. Find out what it is all about, because your mind, our mental faculties are really lessened during this time. So that's why ancient astrologers said this is a time for respite. And when the sun and the moon come together, which will be probably around let me see here, I'd say around this new moon, the sun and Mercury are coming together. The sun is our vitality, and wherever the sun shines on, it sheds light, it sheds knowledge, it sheds information. You're able to see clear when the sun's out than when it's not, right? So when Mercury and the sun are together, the sun is shining light on your mind, on your thoughts, your ideas. So it's like a aha moment, this new moon. And so really important. We also have Venus in the sign of Aquarius. Venus is the planet of love, of how we show our affection to each other. It is the planet that reminds us about our security. It brings up relationships, our relationships with groups, our relationships with friends. There's a lot of Aquarius energy on this new moon. Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn are all in the constellation of Aquarius. This is huge, huge. This is what we call a stellium. It's like if you're standing alone and you're trying to do something alone that's really challenging, it really makes sense if you ask for help. And Aquarius is a sign that does it all together. And so it's about about being unified, about coming together. And when you've got Jupiter, the planet, the biggest planet in our solar system, in the sign of Aquarius, Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, Jupiter magnifies wherever it is. So it's really putting a huge spotlight on humanity right now. And it's also putting a huge spotlight on our individual friendships and the truth. This is the part that I have some really great help for all of you watching surrounding the truth, because the truth is not always the easiest thing to see. But if we're not able to look at ourselves and look at what our individual truths are, then we're bound to repeat old patterns, because they become like a path that you keep traveling on over and over and over again. And because of that, we are, bound to experience the same thing as we have in the past. So it's really important I would encourage you on this new moon to open your heart to the possibility of writing a new story. What would that new story be for you? This new moon is trining, meaning there's an open door for relief to the North Node, and the North Node points us in the direction that is most fulfilling, the direction where there's going to be the most benefits. And so this is strategizing as a whole, meaning people coming together to look at what's best for everybody. So it's no longer about the Leo, which is, it's all about me. Look at me, I'm important. Yeah, you're important. However, and everybody is important, but right now, with all this energy, all these planets in Aquarius, it's about what's best for everybody on this earth. And so there are some really old patterns that are coming up for everybody, because Saturn in Aquarius on this new moon is actually in a pretty strong square to Uranus, and that means that there are changes that are happening for everybody that we can't do a thing about except for allow ourselves to realize what these old patterns are. And the really cool part about this is it's identified for us what needs to change in our life so we don't remain stagnant. We don't remain stuck in these depressed areas, these areas that have not been in our best interest or been a path that we should continue to travel on. And you know what, while I was preparing this show, I thought about the song by Lady Gaga, which is Born This Way, where she speaks about, you know, the words are, one part of it, rejoice and love yourself, you were born to be brave. So it takes a lot of courage to allow yourself to accept things that you know you really need to change in your life, and to allow yourself to forgive others and also forgive yourself. Most importantly, forgive yourself for anything that is sort of sticking or holding on to you. So this is a really important month for the whole world. And the other thing that I in the preparation for the show I gathered is, here's a question for you that you might want to ask yourself on this new moon. What separates you from God? And what's to be revealed? This is what's, you know, what is revealed at this time. Take a moment or take some time to reflect on this, because it really does take courage to know who you are and know who you're not. And there's a true sense of, you know, a true sense of who we are is limitless, actually, and it takes courage to know who you're not. And I wanted to say something to everyone out in the world who is suffering from some type of addiction, and we all have those tendencies. I mean, whether it be that we're obsessed with our education, or we're obsessed with alcohol, we're obsessed with drugs, or we're obsessed with work, or we're obsessed with whatever it may be. You know, every ism can become challenging if there's not some type of balance. So really important at this time for all of us that we look at those things that we have decided to put rose-colored glasses on and not recognize, because these are things that have kept us in a place of suffering in the past. And you know, we have Neptune actually squaring the nodes, meaning our past and our future. Neptune is the planet that brings resolve, ultimately. Its energy helps us to understand and be compassionate to each other. And it's in the sign of Pisces, and it's squaring the nodes. So there is a huge recognition at this time of what we've decided that we do not want to look at clearly, at what we want to put these rose-colored glasses on and not see. And so this is a time of all of us getting clarity if we so desire. And if you decide that you'd rather not float on this canoe or float with this change, this is going, or if you're resistant to the change, you're going to be the ones that are going to feel the pain of this experience the most. So my best advice to you is to sit in the canoe, allow yourself to float with the changes. You'll find it's a lot more helpful. There's something I'm going to read to you that I prepared that is surrounding this new moon, and I think it's just really good advice. And this is, you know, I listen to a lot of different astrologers and spiritual healers, and this was something I put together, and so it goes like this. So love is the ability to identify with another and to see that they're mirroring to us or to you as if they were you, literally empathizing as if you were talking to yourself or helping yourself. So giving to others as you would want to be given to is the natural flow resulting from the identification of others, and suffering helps that happen. So love is one of the most incredible gifts that comes from suffering. And so if you investigate even deeper than this, because Aquarius is very much about inquiry, investigation, and you investigate deeper into what suffering creates, you will uncover that it instills wisdom as well. The birth of freedom is actually embedded in the very experience that seems to hold you hostage. The suffering, the fear, the birth of freedom actually originates there, because what you'll notice is that if you do not love, you feel a pain in your heart. You feel your heart close to love. And that suffering reveals the importance of love itself. And so then you seek that very thing that you're closing down. And every little act that leads you home to your heart is based on a choice that you make. So the freedom is, it comes into play that whatever you choose, even if it is a choice not to love it, moves you closer, because you ultimately will come to that place where the suffering is held at bay. Because what you realize is, it is not creating more love, so that eventually leads to being enlightened. And you can't help but go in that direction. And that's how the universe is created. So with every act of love, you become lighter. You become more delighted by life itself. You cast out darkness. And what is darkness? It's not evil. It's not the enemy. It's just the absence of light. So when you ignore the light while giving your precious attention to something that doesn't matter, the darkness basically represents that which does not exist. So I know that belief systems are coming up, really coming up for everybody at this time. Looking at what we believed, what we were taught in the past, and what our understanding of that is so, so important. So darkness is the only seeming absence of something else that doesn't actually exist. So if you believe in the enemy, if you believe in Satan, if you believe in those things, you make them real. So darkness is the only seeming absence of something else that does actually exist, which is love, which is light. Light and love are the same. So light and love are both the energy that fuel life. They are the same. So there's actually nothing but light. So darkness is only the seeming absence of something else that actually exists. Whereas darkness itself is the ignorance of light and ignoring the light while you're giving your attention to something else. And I know this is pretty deep to absorb, but if you think about it, it really makes a lot of logical sense and intuitive sense and spiritual sense. That will take you into darkness, so it's not real. It is basically something that is the illusion. You're in the web of illusion. So there's nothing but light, nothing. It is the absence that creates the universe. It is a sentence from which we come from, right? We're born from this creation, and the only thing that can obscure that light is choosing to focus on something else instead. That is the choice you have. That is the free will you have. You're free to choose to acknowledge what is true. And I do know that there's a lot of people right now out there escaping from what the truth is, because it's hard. It's painful to look at, but it is the truth. And the truth does make us uncomfortable sometimes, but it has a purpose. And I say this to all my clients. I thought of this years and years ago. What if every single challenge you experience in your life is actually a blessing, a gift? And when you overcome that challenge, you become stronger. That's the gift. You become stronger, and you're able to be more present for other people. You're able to, feel healthier because you've cleared away something, or you've aligned with something, or you've opened your heart to experience this challenge, and you've walked through it, not run from it. It's easy to run. It's easy to hide, and that's where people run into addiction. That's actually at the root of many addictions. So the choice you have, as I said before, is your free will. Your unity with all of creation. You acknowledge your sense of separateness from that creation, which creates fear and alienation. So those are the byproducts of the software that well, so to speak, that programming. I was talking to a craniosacral therapist this morning, and I said, you know, we were talking about our bodies and how the body is the end conduit of all the difficulties that we stored away, kind of like think about a file cabinet. Okay, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to think about this. I'm going to open that file cabinet. I'm going to file it in there. I'm going to close it. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to put a combination on it, and then our bodies start to get sick. So our body has memory, long-term memory. So right now on this earth, we're all in this place of realizing these things from the past because they're coming up. Our bodies are telling us, I don't feel good. And so we have to look at when we feel that way, where is that we're storing that in our bodies, and find some way to work with releasing that or healing it and detoxing yourself from it. And truly the only way to do that is to walk through it. Ignorance is believing in that software, and ignorance is thinking that the software accurately presents the truth of who you are when it's just an illusion. So that's the reality that is the actual darkness. And so the alignment is knowing the truth of who you are. You're not the software, you're not your mind, you're not the programming. Mercury retrograde in Aquarius is showing you that within the source of light, it's asking you to go to that source of light and open your heart to that source of light. Live in that truth. That is your choice. And that is what Aquarius impact is attracting to your conscious awareness. So pay really close attention to all that is appearing in your life right now. This is an important month. Respond to whatever it is, your thoughts especially. Only when you're inspired to do so. Speak only when inspired to do so. Take that extra time to listen. Align with the wisdom of life. Align with just being in silence, hearing what you've never heard before. And you'll set yourself free from that darkness, from that software, that voice in your head that never stops. So you'll free yourself from the darkness, and from the greatest, and from that the greatest freedom is going to be on your path. So love and light, you know, that's my recommendation. Step into love, step into light, open your heart, because that's the true source that feeds us all. And so this is the time, this Aquarius activation with all these planets just is here to set ourselves free by exploring, by becoming conscious, by becoming the observer, and becoming the listener, and understanding who you are at a soul level, which is a star being. We all come from the stars. We all come from a creative source. So, you know, there's something to be learned during this new moon about becoming detached, about not responding emotionally. Aquarius is not an emotional sign, even though the picture that we see is the water bear. It's not a water sign. It's an air sign, intellectual, and it's someone who's thinking about the whole rather than just themselves. And this is my daughter's birthday, Aquarius, this right on, almost on this new moon. So happy birthday, Lauren. And I want to just share one more thing with you about this Aquarius new moon. We all have a brain that has two sides to it. We all have a duality about each and every one of us. And one of my friends, Elizabeth Foley, posted this on Facebook today. And I thought it would be really helpful to bring to light on today's show. This is a tree of life. And on one side of it, we have negative responses, and on the other side we have positive responses. And so it's our choice whether we choose the negative responses, which are being dishonest, complaining, selfish, sadness, lazy, jealousy, confused, hate, procrastination, being fake, having regrets that we're not acknowledging, feeling hopeless, feeling stressed, worried, superficial, self-centered, ego, arrogant, greed, ignorant, anger, violent, fear, inferiority, impatient, indecisive, indifferent, loneliness, uncertainty. Those things do not feel good. I didn't feel good reading them. but they are real. And the positive, now I'm not going to leave you in a negative place, but positive, the positive side that we can choose to act on is giving, forgiving, being honest, showing love to the people in our lives that are on our path. Trust, being calm, being motivated, being grateful, being passionate, and showing that passion in all we do, being happy, being efficient, being brave, having joy. I think also about laughter. Laughter is a very positive thing. Being inspired, being loyal, not being selfish, being proactive, being diligent, kind, creative, responsible, supportive, confident, peaceful. These things feel good when you say them, or you recognize the negative and you go, okay, no, wait a minute, I'm feeding the negativity again, I'm feeding that old story. So this month, this new moon is about writing our new story, about creating something different in our lives. This is an incredible month to do that. So everyone, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Remember, turn to the stars, you'll find your answers there. Thanks for tuning in to Turn to the Stars today. Remember, as always, turn to the stars and you'll find your answers there. And remember also, always keep your heart open to love and light. And until next time, take good care. I'll see you then.